The Peace Dependency podcast is brought to you by Total Rat NES. Shop your Goofy Food Controller TWO merch and CTWC approved hardware on TotalRatNES.com. Welcome to the Peace Dependency podcast. I'm your host Frank, also known as Sir Mazer. Today we have the runner-up from CTWC 2016, the man who scored a lot of boom Tetrises. Jeff Moore is joining me on the show today. We spoke on the last day that you could sign up for CTWC 2021. We talked about Jeff's career, CTWC being a S-tier meme, and apparently we all got the date of his first maxout wrong. This is our conversation. Jeff, welcome to the Peace Dependency podcast, and thank you so much for doing this.
Frank, it's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
First question is always the same question for everyone who's new on the podcast, and that is, how did you get into NES Tetris?
Okay. Wow. I haven't answered this one in a long time. So I was 8 years old, I think, when I first played at it was a friend's house, and their family had it, and they would just take turns playing games of Tetris. One person would go, pass it to the next person, pass it to the next person. And whenever I would go over to that house, I would just join in when they were doing that. And that was my very first introduction to the game.
And that was early 90s, late 80s?
Let's see. Well, if I do the math, it must have been right when it came out. So if I was 8, that would be 1980. Yeah, it would be 1988. Does that math work out?
Yeah, 1989, I think Tetris came out.
1989. Okay, I'm dating myself. Maybe I was 9 years old. Might have been 9. It was enough to prompt me to get an NES of my own, and I think I got that when I was about 12, and then I got Tetris and Mike Tyson's Punch-Out, and the old track and field with the pad where you're supposed to use your feet, but everybody would just get down and use their hands on the pad to run. So definitely my earliest game with the Nintendo system.
But was Tetris a game that you played a lot, or? I mean, Mike Tyson Punch-Out is also a legendary game for the NES, and a lot of players still play it to this day. Or was that a game that you play a lot?
Yeah, back then it was. I don't think. Yeah, Tetris was not my main game back then. I played all the games pretty much evenly. So, and there was a bunch more, right? Contra, Super Contra, and Metroid, and all the classics from back then. It wasn't until it was a few years later when I started to when I didn't have as much time to play, that Tetris became more of a focus, because you could sit down and play for 5 or 10 minutes and kind of feel satisfied, you know?
Yeah.
Whereas a lot of the other ones, you really needed maybe a little more time to invest in it.
What was your goal playing in the 90s?
No real goals back then. It was more of a way to pass the time. I can't remember. Yeah, I can't remember really setting any personal goals. I didn't even know about starting on level 18 until I kind of reintroduced to the game randomly in my mid-20s. So I took a long break during like the later part of high school and college, and even out of college. And then it was sort of just a kind of a random thing. I got into it. So any kind of personal goals or really trying to get good didn't start happening until way later. So in the 90s, it was just about playing and getting lines and taking a break from whatever else was going on in life, you know?
Yeah. Were you completely off NES games and started towards more PlayStation or Xbox games during that time, or was it just only Tetris that you got a break from, and the other games you still played?
Yikes. I know I had some other systems in between there. In between going back to the Nintendo, we had a Graphics for a minute in my house. I don't even remember what games were on that one. That didn't last too long, I don't think.
I
No, I
don't
pretty much
even
just
know
got,
that.
yeah, Graphics. I don't know if many people do. Like I can't even like I said, I can't even think of a game that we had, but no, I think if I played any other games, it was usually at a buddy's house or something. I would pretty much took a break completely from the games, and then got back into it after college.
How did you got reintroduced into Tetris?
When they had the kind of the fake consoles coming out,
Yeah.
and again, I'm not sure exactly when that happened, but it was probably right around then. So everything was all of a sudden it was cheap, right? And you could get the kind of the fake little system, and then buy a game. And for me, that's all I wanted was the one game. So that is what prompted me. I probably randomly just saw an ad somewhere, and got the little fake system. Got back into it, and kind of started getting good at that point. And then somewhere along the way saw the Ecstasy of Order documentary, and then that was when I started to like invest in getting a original Nintendo again, and original controllers, and all of that. So, and the rest is history, right?
Yeah. Do you still have that fake console?
No, that was I don't. That would be so old by now. That would probably be getting on to like 15, 15 to 18 years old right now. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know. The machines are, I guess, built like little tanks. But no, once I went back to the original consoles, then I'm sure I dumped the other one, or it just broke, or whatever.
Oh yeah.
So,
And did you feel any differences between that clone console and the original NES?
yeah, probably, because I'm pretty sure I was using the clunky controller that came along with it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so and there was definitely differences, but it had been so long since I had played. I don't think I was even worried about that at the time. Um, Definitely when I got back onto the original hardware, though, then I knew what I was missing out on playing that the kind of the retro imitation.
How did you came across Ecstasy of Order?
That was just another online, just kind of getting lucky. I think I was probably searching for Tetris videos as I was getting better. Then I think I probably started to seek out where I was in standings, or if there was any tournaments along those lines, and then happened onto it.
Yeah.
And so I think that was in 2013. So it had still been, it was a few years old by the time I stumbled onto it.
Like you said, 2013 was the year you saw Ecstasy of Order. 2014 was the first time you went to CTWC. How did you train for CTWC? Because the most of the community was on online forums and all that. Were you active on those forums, or were you just a standalone player and just got to Portland and let's see what my status is within these group of players?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was definitely nothing that I had thought to put a whole lot of time past my just kind of my leisure time into. Like I was not investing in analyzing the game. I wasn't involved in any of the forums. I didn't really even know a lot of the players aside from Jonas and Harry mostly.
Yeah.
Anybody else on the documentary then I kind of knew as a celebrity, I guess, but I didn't really know much about their games or styles or anything like that. So there wasn't really any preparation there. It was more of just I just thought of it as being a fun one-time deal,
Yeah.
But I think around that time, when my wife and I both went up, Kim and I both went up there, and she started to get into Tetris at that point. So it sort of solidified then that now we both were into it, and it started to become more of something that we were putting more time into. But at least during the 2014 one, I was just kind of showing up and seeing what it was all about and just
Yeah.
enjoying it as more of a fan almost than anything else.
What were you expecting when you went to Portland in 2014?
That's a good question. I was thinking along the lines of remember that old movie with Fred Savage back in the day where he's the 8-year-old video game champ, or no, he's the brother of the video game champ. Do you remember this one?
No. But
I'm sure some of the older guys will remember that one. It's called The Wizard. The Wizard. Yeah, Fred Savage plays this character, and he's got this brother who's kind of somewhere on the maybe on the autism spectrum or something. Very shy, very introverted, but he's a wizard at these video games, and so he takes him to the championship, the Nintendo World Championships, and it was the first time that anybody had ever, I think, in my generation, had anybody thought that video games could actually be a serious event. So we're all watching this on the big screen, and now that I think back on this movie, it sort of was like a one huge 2-hour advertisement for Nintendo and its games, right?
Yeah.
So it was intense from a kid's point of view, right? And in my mind, even as an adult, I was like, I think that might be how these tournaments are, right? And so I get up to Portland, and it's just a bunch of guys my same age, and everyone's having fun and laid back, and it definitely, there was the intensity during the games, but it was all a fun intensity.
Yeah.
So I kind of had, it was expectations were reset, and I think in a much more positive way. That adults can get together and enjoy video games, and it's all just for fun. Back then, anyway. Yeah.
Now isn't for fun anymore?
Well, for me it is, but I don't know. I can't speak for now that the competition has gotten so much bigger, and you can tell that the players now are investing so much more time into their practice and the play styles and their strategies and discussing it on the forums and all of that. So
yeah.
Fun, I guess fun has its own definition depending on who you are. Yeah, for me, it's all still just just kind of a whimsical thing, even though I myself had started the past few years to put a little more kind of serious effort into it. But yeah, I only meant to say that going into the earlier years, it was a bunch of guys who would play seriously, but in the end, it's some people were there was jokes and drinking and laughing, and
yeah,
kind of a camaraderie of we all started around the same time, and it was funny to see a bunch of grown men playing a kid's game, right?
So what made it that you came back after 2014? Because since 2014, you participated in every CTWC.
Yeah, it was probably just the fact that I was able to advance around. I was able to qualify. My first couple of years, I finished 12th, which to me was probably the perfect place to land in order to kind of motivate me to try to see if I could get better.
Yeah.
But also to make it feel like it was worthwhile putting that time in. You get a nice prize for showing up and qualifying. You got some sort of memento from the tournament itself, and then just meeting all the players and getting to see them once a year, and watch the tournament in person. It just kind of sucked me in. Like the whole experience was just enjoyable and so weirdly unique. That after the first year, it wasn't even a question. Like we were going to go back.
And is that same vibe that got you into CTWC in 2014? Is that still around, even though CTWC for last year was online? This year will be online?
Yeah, it's the online version is definitely different. I just signed up for this year's. I was really back and forth on whether I was going to compete.
Why wouldn't you compete?
Well, the timing for me, and I think this is mostly since I've had a couple of kids, and in the past 5-6 years or whatever. I've just started a new job, and life this year has just kind of collapsed in a way that I don't feel like I can be at the top of my game on demand, which is kind of what the tournaments, the online tournaments require. You have to pick a 2-hour time slot to qualify, and then and then you have to kind of be available on this, on a day, which back in the past, it wouldn't have been a problem. I could take the time off of work and have a long weekend or whatever it was, and everything, gets done in the weekend. But now, you kind of have to plan ahead a lot more. And for me, being fresh and being available, even for like the 2-hour qualifier is definitely questionable. So I'm either, coming home from work and then trying to, to do it right after work, or waiting until the kids are in bed, and now I've got to try to go later. So, I'm even staying up later than I usually stay up trying to play Tetris.
Yeah.
Or squeezing it into a weekend in between whatever kids' activities are going on or household stuff. So kind of being long-winded about that. It's just kind of getting harder and harder as other life responsibilities have come along. But in the end, I did decide to sign up just about 45 minutes ago.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that I still want to be a part of, even if, even if I'm not playing at my best or feeling at my best or whatever. It's just something to be able to say that I have, entered in this many years in a row. And then, hopefully in the next, couple of years or whatever, things settle down and it's not quite so hectic and all that. So
a real life tournament like we used to have in Portland, you need to take one weekend off or maybe one day off on a Friday, travel to Portland. Saturday, Sundays for most people are already off days, so it's easier to schedule that. And now you have to, if you go to the top 8, have 3 available days that you can or need to participate.
Yeah, it's a little bit different. I mean, the online version of CTWC is definitely more inclusive, which is great. I mean, we wouldn't have seen how much the world has progressed in Tetris, without the online. So it's absolutely a blessing that it's that it's been able to have been held even during all this other stuff that's going on, that they were able to create this this version that where most other things are shutting down or closing off, it's actually opened up and been able to increase the visibility to the world. But the in-person still has there's still a special place for that, I feel like. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes when they try to, when or if they they try to return to that. That'll be interesting to see.
Yeah.
But yeah, it definitely is. If you're going to go to Portland, what I have done wrong in the past is tried to work on Friday, fly out late on Friday. Then I usually miss all the fun stuff on Friday night and show up, just do the stuff on Saturday and Sunday. And then I'm leaving Saturday to try to work on Monday again. And that's no way to enjoy it. So hopefully,
oh, man.
I'm thinking if when and if Portland opens back up again, I'm definitely going to be going more as a fan and taking more time off, at least a Friday and a Monday, to really enjoy the experience.
Yeah.
And I would definitely recommend that to anybody who's trying to get to Portland, is give yourself plenty of time to really meet everybody and do the fun stuff aside from just the tournament.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. And when you went to Portland, did you go by yourself? Did you meet other people there? Did you went with your wife?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I went with Kim the first couple of years, and then in 2016 she actually was not able to go, and then it was, oh gosh, no, I can't remember which years she was able to make it. Then I think she came 1 year after that, and then maybe missed. But for the most part, it's been Kim and I together. And then maybe 1 or 2 times it was a solo trip.
2016, your breakthrough year, Kim wasn't there.
Right. Yeah, she was watching it on online here in Vegas.
I want to talk about 2016 a little bit further ahead, but how did she experience your run in 2016?
She was nervous. She was probably more nervous than I was, and she told me later because I think she had a sense of the excitement of watching it and hearing the announcing and all that. Where I was so overwhelmed. I think I was tuning a lot of that out. So I feel like she had a good sense of kind of the magical run of this guy who's kind of lucking his way through these rounds and making it to the finals. And where I was so intent on trying not to get overwhelmed, and I was so nervous about just trying not to top out at 100,000 points in front of all these people, right? So
Yeah.
I was so kind of focused on the game that I missed out on the kind of the bigger picture that I think Kim was able to kind of absorb as she was watching it there. So it was fun to kind of rewatch it with her afterwards. And kind of get a sense of how she was viewing it,
When you started dating Kim, was she already into NES Tetris, or did you got her into NES Tetris?
Yeah, that's funny. That was I'm pretty sure it coincided. I think we had probably started dating right when I had bought into that original imitation. I call it original, the imitation console.
Yeah.
That kind of happened some around the same time or so. And then she, it took her a while to warm up to it for sure, but she got into playing it. I think it was after one of the trips up to Portland. So she was good support up until then, and then she took off, and now she's a great player too, but she has even less time to put into it than I do. So.
Oh, yeah, I can imagine. Mother of two, writing books and all that. I can imagine that you have a little time to play NES Tetris. But on average, how much time do you spend playing NES Tetris in a week?
I still probably try to put in 15 minutes or so in the morning before I leave for work. So I've kind of got that sort of budgeted in. So and then it's just kind of random. I might take a week off the rest of the time, not really play much during the evenings or anything. And then other weeks I might feel like just kind of feel like playing more and do an hour at night or so. I've gotten away from the streaming a little bit, but where I'll still put in I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 nights a week and play an hour in the evening times before going to sleep or whatever. But there is always that time in the morning. There's still usually about 15 minutes or so where I'm pretty consistently able to get 1 or 2 games in.
And what are those scores of the game? Are you consistent 800K, 900K, or?
No, no, I wouldn't say that. No, I'm still pretty good at transitioning to 19 with a terrible board and topping out at like a 500. So that's still right in my wheelhouse.
Is NES Tetris a big part in the Moore family?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Yeah, we're still I mean, we're connected now to more people, and especially Kim. She's really good at keeping in touch, especially long term with as I might dip in and out of the online scene and like I was talking about streaming and all of that. She is super connected to the community, and so just in that respect of just knowing people, and we'll still watch streams.
Yeah.
We'll watch Kingsman's Friendlies when we get a chance, and CTL. I'm in and out of that, so I would still say it's still pretty pervasive. We have a whole corner of the living room set aside where there's 2 laptops and the Nintendo and the old console, and it's a mainstay in our living room. So you can't miss it if you ever come over to the house.
And your son played as a kid in the Dead or Like a Friend tournament. He plays against the daughter of Tilo. How long has he been playing NES Tetris, and does he like the game, or do he wants to prefer the modern games, as in playing on the Switch or the computer or the PS, whatever?
Oh yeah, yeah. He absolutely prefers the Switch. So he likes the Mario games and the Mario Kart and all of that stuff. He's a big Mario fan. But um, I think it's grown on him. The Tetris has grown on him a little bit. He sometimes he once in a while will request to play it, which is always fun to see. But yeah, that match versus Delo's daughter was super fun. He surprises us every time he plays. He seems to have a kind of a better understanding of what he's trying to do, and that was through no teaching. I think he was just absorbing it as he would watch out of the corner of his eye as Kim and I were playing or whatever, and
Yeah.
so you just tell that like there was a time where he realized, oh, you stack it and then try for the long bar, or he would hear us calling for the long bar, where's the long bar, and then he would start repeating that as he was playing without even really knowing what it was meaning. But eventually he caught on, and we just kind of let it happen naturally, which is even more fun to see that he just kind of is progressing in the game on his own. But I am sad that he does play DAS. Like there's just no other option for him. He's pinholed into it right now.
Doesn't he want any help from you, or?
Oh no. It's I think it's better to just let him do it because he has more fun that way. I think he has more fun that way, So he doesn't get frustrated about top outs or try for certain things. I think it's better that he continues to progress that on his own, and then that'll be good later on for him to be able to know that whatever skill level he happens to attain, if he chooses to keep going in Tetris, will be completely his own.
And is your daughter into NES Tetris?
That's funny. Yeah, no, we've gotten her on screen a couple of times playing, but the understanding of the game just isn't there for her. She's really good. She likes to just see the pieces drop right in the middle until she taps out, and then she has a good laugh about it. So it's a heartwarming laugh. But yeah, she's not really ready for the game just yet.
I saw a wonderful picture on the More Family Activities Instagram with you and Kim playing a match in the Desert Qualifier in Phoenix, Arizona, with your son in between you two.
What a throwback! Yeah. That was gosh, what year was that? That must have been 2018 maybe, or 17, 18 probably.
18.
2018. Yeah. Yes. Yeah, he was just a little guy then. That was actually pretty chaotic. So that picture was taken during a pretty calm time where we had figured, okay, this is what we can do. But it was the two of us trying to qualify, and then Evan, and no one else to watch. So we would have to take turns trying to entertain Evan while the other one would play.
Oh man!
There were times where if one of us had him by the hand walking around, and he would see the other one playing, he might run up to the other one. And that was it was really dicey because he might be knocking into other people's chairs or yelling at them or coming into their field of vision, trying to see mommy or whatever. So that was kind of an experiment, and I don't think we tried that again without having somebody else there as backup to keep him entertained.
Do you plan to bring the whole family to either a qualifier event or to CTWC?
Yeah, I don't know. We haven't really thought about that. That would be a major endeavor for sure.
Yeah.
That probably wouldn't be for a few years until they were both big enough to, to kind of behave well. And it's a really the environment inside of the convention center there is super overwhelming as far as lights and noises and crowds, people, and all of that. So I have this feeling it would be a few years before they would be ready. I think Evan right now could handle it, but Emma right now, she's 4, and I feel like she could, she might last an hour or 2 hours before it would just be, too much stimulation. So we're gonna probably have to table that for down the road.
For now, it's a date weekend with you and Kim going to Portland.
Absolutely, and the kids can stay at grandma's house.
You and Kim helped a few community members. For example, you provided a EverDrive to Kingsman. You are sponsoring Geo from Puerto Rico this year for CTWC. And I think people know this story, but you, along with Xerxes, helped Nanu to get a NES console in cartridge. What's the story behind that?
Yeah, that one was pretty interesting how that came about, because it was really Xerxes that took the initiative on that. We had been on maybe in the chat of one of Nenu's streams. I can't remember exactly how it came about, but or maybe I was streaming and I made just an offhand comment about, like, if that was what was keeping Nenu from playing, like, we would love to hook him up with that or whatever. And then it just sort of, we just didn't really think of it much after that, because it's not like Nenu was out panhandling for equipment or anything, right?
Yeah.
But a few months later, Xerxes, I think Xerxes had been in that same chat, and he remembered it was getting close to decision time, I guess, for Nenu, and Xerxes contacted us and said, "Hey, are you guys still able to do that?" And he set up the back and forth, and he sent, I think he sent the Game Genie, and then we were able to send the NES and the controller, and through all of Xerxes's help, get it all over there just in time. And then I think that's the same year that Nenu had the power outage debacle, where he had to he had to book it across town. I don't know what equipment he had to I guess he had to hustle his whole system over or something. I'm not sure, but
probably.
Just sort of a kind of a great story from start to finish for Nenu that year. But yeah, once in a while we'll just it might be somebody that I played against, and this year we were sponsoring Geo and Melon Soda. Yeah. And it just kind of comes up, like, if we see somebody that that we really enjoy watching play, or maybe someone had a hard luck exit from a qualifier or something, then we just like to do that to keep the encouragement up. Nothing nothing more than that we want to make sure that players that really should be in and will make the competition fun to watch get in and do it. So that's the main thing.
And what does the community in general means to you?
Tetris in general is just a big part of my my youth, my early adulthood, and now into middle age. And it's just really nice to be able to share that with people that have the kind of the same value system there, at least regarding Tetris.
Yeah.
Nice to be able to interact with these, I would call it like-minded people that there's a certain, I think there's a certain mindset that you have to really enjoy. It's a kind of a morbid fascination, I guess, if you can really put that effort and focus and all of that into this one game. That it's interesting to see that and it used to be a lot more localized, and now it's around the world, and all these people can come together. And I think somebody had said a 6-way scene or something like that, and it was players from all different countries coming together, and then you have the chat of people from all over the world, and just being a part of that is when you think about the magnitude of it is amazing, right? It's just something that 20 or 30 years ago would be unimaginable.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, right. It's all come together in such a short amount of time. But I don't know. I guess it's just nice to know that you can kind of nerd out on this game and have a lot of support from people that love to nerd out on it with you.
Yeah. Oh, that's the same reason why I love the community, because it's so global. People from all around the world are playing the same game, having the same goals, or maybe they are different levels, but everyone is reaching new heights. Everyone is certainly wanting to help each other and all that. I made great friends from all over the world. I'm great friends with Pollo. I'm great friends with Nomori, one from Mexico, one from Brazil. I wouldn't know these people if it wasn't for Tetris.
Right? Absolutely. Yeah. And I think you hit it on the head there, that as people progress through the game, they go through the same frustrations, right? And the same joys of of hitting their milestones, right? And people that are, at a higher level, they remember what that was like, and they can provide support and encouragement or celebrate along with the people. And yeah, it's just a really good feeling to be a part of,
Total Radness! Yo, this is Steve DeLuca of Total Radness, home of the Tetris World Order.
Bringing order to a chaotic world.
Ready to get rolling on the right side? Dominate the D-pad with a goofy foot controller. Visit TotalRadNES.com to score a controller modded by the inventor, me. We've also got TWO gear, CTWC approved hardware, and a ton of additional retrospective madness. Tune in to twitch.tv/Total Radness to watch Quaid and I take the BLV to 11. Also, don't miss the other homies at Aaron Jazamoki for the Boom Tetris house parties with the Kitchen Dwellers. And at Classic Vomps for those classic Tetris snugs. Be the best and keep it TWO for life.
We will return to the conversation with Jeff in a minute, but first, if you like the Peace Dependency podcast, help us grow. Please share the podcast with every classic Tetris fan. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Peace Dependency. You can like our Facebook page, Peace Dependency Podcast. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. We will have all the podcasts uploaded at full length. Also, you can listen to the Peace Dependency Podcast on Spotify, iTunes, Google Podcasts, or your favorite podcast app. Join the Tetris Friendlies Discord server. Besides the fact that it's the place to discuss anything PDP, you can also participate in some lovely friendlies or put your ELO on the line in the various ELO battles. If you are on the Tetris Friendlies Discord server, make sure to ask for a PDP role so you won't miss anything. If you have a suggestion we need to have on the next Peace Dependency podcast, let us know through the socials or our Discord channel. Now, let's go back to the conversation with Jeff, where we will be talking about a possible retirement. How many times did you want to throw out your NES and throw out the game of Tetris?
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, how many times have I retired and then unretired? Oh gosh, there was a time before the even before the tournaments where I was getting pretty good, and I said, okay, if I can max out the game, that'll be it. Because at that point, like there was no way to really calculate a score above 99999. Whatever the million point. There was no way to track beyond that really. And so that was, I think, that was probably the time I took retiring, quote unquote, the most seriously. Was like, okay, if I can get that milestone, then there's really no need. That was my thought. There's really no need to play anymore. And it lasted probably a week. I don't know, like maybe not even that. And then I was back. Well, let me see if I can do it again. Okay, right. And then I found Ecstasy of Order, and then it was the tournament. So really, I don't think seriously. I don't think I've ever thought that I would be able to step away from the game completely.
Nah. If for whatever reason you don't make the gold bracket this year, or you will participate in the silver bracket, does that mean that you will lose some interest into the game, or decides, okay, this is time to retire from competition, only play or in friendlies or whatever?
Yeah, I think that is actually it's coming close for me to step out of the competition realm. Mostly because, like, as I was talking earlier, it's harder and harder to feel like I'm at the top of my game, when on demand for a tournament or whatever.
Yeah.
But I think that's a kind of a natural progression of a kind of what I want my Tetris career to be, because there's a lot of there's a lot of roles out there for people beyond competition to to keep the community going and to keep, to keep that alive and to be a part of that. It doesn't always have to be just in competition. Like, for instance, what you're doing here with the podcast, right?
Yeah.
What Kingsman does with his Friendlies, or, I could name them off, Beethoven and Sharky, and Dog with his Brawl, and everybody that's hosting Moodus with his, the CTL.
Rory Pumpy Heart with statistics.
Absolutely, yes, right. And for me, what I kind of envision for myself is stepping away from the competition, like you said, just because for me, it's there is obviously less and less chance to or it could be absolutely zero at this point, right? To place really high in the tournaments. But being a part of, say, like restreaming for CTL, or getting in on commentary once in a while with I left out Van Dweller with his classic Tetris Monthly there, the biggest one of them all. But getting into commentary a little bit here and there, and just being able to be part of the community as a fan more than a competitor is where I envision myself going. And I said it last year, I think after last year's CTWC as well, because I had a pretty rough ending to that one. It always kind of leaves a bad taste in your mouth, but eventually, that's where I want to go. And it may be after this CTWC. It was a very close decision on whether I would even compete this year. But I think as I am able to step away from the competition and hopefully get into some of these other roles, that it's gratifying in a different way and allows me to stay apart without being so tied into the competition,
Yeah. Is this something that you really want to try when you step away from competition within the classic Tetris community?
No, I haven't really thought about that. It's more about being just kind of being helpful. So I think wherever would be most needed, and it may be because I've been in CTL quite a bit off and on, that I realize that there's always a need for more restreamers there. So that one kind of obviously comes to the forefront of being more available with my time to do that. I'm not sure. And again, it's something that's going to be a little easier as my kids get older. But no, it's just if getting involved with tournament organizing and just helping out there, just kind of lending my time wherever it would be most useful, I think is what I would be going for. Not necessarily anything that I would be trying to build on my own, just sort of helping out the community where it could be useful.
Not even trying to host a qualifier in Vegas?
Oh yeah, wow, that's an interesting idea. Yeah, I don't know how much time I would have to. That seems to be such a huge endeavor. But if I would definitely that would be something I would want to be a part of. But I don't think I could spearhead that. Pretty good crowd of Vegas players now, though. I know that Tetris Time and Alex Kerr are both here.
Yeah.
So I think that the kind of the manpower to sort of initiate that is here, but I have no idea. Like, I can only imagine the kind of organizational skills and kind of getting the resources all together. It's beyond my scope of imagination right now. But if that were to come to pass, that somebody wanted to kind of get that going, I would definitely be willing to help out.
I mean, you traveled to Phoenix for the desert qualifier, so I can imagine that people from around Nevada are willing to travel to Las Vegas. I mean, Las Vegas is obviously a great city to visit, but then you can also visit it for a classic Tetris tournament.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I mean, I think the only drawback to it being in Vegas would be that I think a lot of the competitors would probably be under 21 and not be able to, fully enjoy the Vegas experience. But I think
that might be true. Yeah.
I think it would be pretty popular. I mean, there's a lot of things to do for under 21 around here too. But yeah, it's sort of location wise. I think it would be a pretty good draw for the. You got the California. The California crew is about 4 or 5 hours away. The same with kind of the Phoenix area.
Yeah.
It's kind of a good middle point there if they wanted to throw an extra qualifier in. So I've heard rumblings around. I've heard some other people saying how they would love to come down, even from is all over the country. That Vegas would be a fun trip. But yeah, I'm just not really the kind that would be able to get that whole ball rolling. So,
what are your expectations for CTWC 2021 for yourself?
just I think it's kind of the last hurrah to try to get in and see if dancers can make an impact, I guess.
Yeah.
So I still feel like with Matt Martin and Sharkey and of course Harry and Quaid and all of that, like there's still a lot of players that can show up and I hate to use the word surprise you, but it would be at this point, right? But there's always that chance. So it's just I think it's just to give one last hurrah for DAS and see if I said before that I thought I have a pretty good idea where I stand, but there's always the chance of going on a hot streak, and that's what happened in 2016 essentially, right? Or here and there, just kind of getting on a roll. Sharky had a real great role in last year's CTWC.
Oh, he did. Yeah.
That was last year, right?
Yeah, it was last year.
Yeah, and that's always exciting to see. So I think in the back of my mind, there's always there's a chance to not win it, but to advance or to have a surprise elimination or whatever. So I guess that's the I wouldn't say the expectation, but it's the reason why I would compete for one more year. It's just because, well, let's just see. There's always a chance, right?
Yeah.
But I'm not, as far as where I place or how the qualifier goes or any of that. Really, there's less than zero expectations at this point.
So it doesn't really matter where you end up, if you end up in a gold bracket or a silver bracket.
Right. No. Yeah. Not at all. There's does everybody end up in a bracket?
No, I don't think so.
No?
There is
Okay.
a gold bracket. There will be a silver bracket. The bronze bracket is confirmed. So I think the top 128 players are confirmed to play in a bracket. Okay.
Right. So yeah, even then, I feel like even with 128, like there's no guarantee. There's no guarantee there, especially now a 2-hour qualifier for me. I'm an old man. My hands can take about really 45 minutes of Tetris before they start to tire out. so I have no idea what a 2-hour qualifier is gonna feel like here.
You're not going to do mock qualifiers like a lot of people have been doing lately?
Well, I didn't actually pick a time slot yet, so that would probably be a good idea. I just don't know if I can fit that into a schedule. Maybe I do a 1 hour mock or something. But I already know that my hands, if I do 2 straight hours, like the last I don't know, I want to say like the last 45 minutes or an hour is going to be a real struggle.
Yeah.
So I need to start thinking strategically probably right now and be like, okay, after a game, I'm going to take a couple minutes and just let the hands rest or whatever. But I'm not. I don't think I'm physically able to to really do a full mock qual and have it mean anything.
I mean, qualifier is at time of recording is next week. What do you think that the 64 seed cutoff will be?
With a 2-hour time limit. I wish I knew exactly how many tappers were in there, but
last year the cutoff was 919,000 points.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's going to be higher than that. I guess the question is whether it's going to be like 2 max outs or 3 max outs, right? I feel like the people that can max out, and I know there's a lot of them, can max out multiple times, right? So I think we're gonna. I don't know. I think it may be one of these jumps where it's it goes from the 900K all the way up to like 2 max outs plus, right? So we'll see. I think for myself, if as I'm imagining what it would take to qualify there, I'm thinking 2 to 3 max outs in a 2-hour time frame.
Oh, to be certainly safe for a gold bracket.
I think, I don't know, what's the consensus going around?
The consensus is getting a max out with a high 900K kicker.
Oh, okay. All right. Max out 9. Okay. I could see that. For some reason, I just feel like it's, it might take a little more than that. But
Sharky explained it great last year. He was prepping a lot for CTWC, got max outs pretty much daily, but on qualifying day, he got a 998.
That, you know what? Yeah, it's a good point. Anything can happen when it comes down to the live event or the real deal, right? When it gets down to you have that timer in front of you, you know you don't get any redos after it's over. So
exactly.
Yeah, that's true. I kind of discount that, like what experience means for that. So even though there may be a whole lot more max outers that are signing up this year, without the experience, there may be a lot of disappointed players, right?
And are there some plays that you're looking forward to, how they will do in qualifying or how they will do in the tournament itself?
Well, Joseph set the bar so high. All of the top guys, I think, are going to be able to gun at the record. I think the Dog versus Pixel Andy storyline is going to be really fun to watch this year. The rollers, I haven't seen much of Cheesefish lately, so that'll be fun to kind of see him emerge and see where he goes as a roller. And, I guess Huff and
Hydrant Dude.
Hydrant, of course, are they've been going kind of head to head a little bit with their rolling skills, and Hydrant setting the record. So there's really a ton of storylines that make this year pretty interesting. I think the big one for the qualifiers is just going to be that 12 max out record by Joseph to see if who can top that. I don't know, even time wise, a max out takes about, I don't know, for a tapper, maybe 9 minutes or so, right?
Something like that, yes.
Right. So, I mean, just doing that math, I don't know. That's like, it doesn't seem like much more than that is possible.
14, 15-ish is the max.
If you like have 25 and 26 level maxes and quit the game right there and start over again, maybe.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't be surprised then if someone is able to sneak over the 12 level, but that's going to be fun to watch. I think there's quite a few players that might be able to give that a run this year.
I'm looking forward to it. Looking forward to my fellow countryman Sidnev. I know he had a mock qualifying run a couple of weeks back. He got 7 max outs within 2 hours.
I think that'll get you into the top bracket.
That shall be top 8s. Hopefully,
but that's amazing that we're like that we can talk about that and not really be sure. 7 maxes might get you there, but we don't know.
Even if you are the top seed in your qualifying bracket, like we had last year, we had a terrifying Group B last year with all great all-star players, and you have 8 in one group, and only one can survive and can make it to the top 8 main event.
Yeah, it's brutal. It's a brutal format when the competition is at such a high level. I mean, it's really gonna. I will have to see how the brackets look this year, but I mean, it seems like it could very easily be a top 32 or top 64, even with every player having a chance of getting up there.
All groups of that.
It's sort of it's hard to see a bracket like that because. You want to watch all those guys in the finals, but the competition is just so fierce. It just can't happen. But what it does pretty much mean though, and is that when you do get those top players into the top 8, that it doesn't really matter who it is. Whoever gets there is going to make it just, it's going to be a kind of a semifinals and finals that just blows you away.
I just can't predict it. I just don't know. I can't fill out 8 names for a main event.
Yeah, we need Vegas maybe to get in on. We need the sports books to get in there and start giving us some odds. That might help to kind of organize the competition level, the expectation level for these guys.
I had to talk about with Quaid and Steve, and they said if we go to Vegas as a standalone CTWC and have the bookers being involved and you can bet on classic Tetris, it will blow up.
Yeah, I would have to agree with that. I mean, there would have to be a lot more put into place protocol wise, I imagine, you know what I mean, to ensure that everyone knew that there was a secure event or whatever, which I don't know how that would be if you could do something like that online, or, you know, I guess that would have to be like you're saying, that would have to be in Vegas itself.
Yeah, or somewhere else in the world, but it has to be in real life, not as a online event.
Okay, yes, yeah. Boy, that would be interesting, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
I would almost be nervous for the players after that. You know, you imagine having a couple of early top outs and then some some guy who just lost $30,000 betting on you.
Oh man,
you know?
exactly.
But that would definitely open up whole new avenues as far as people wanting to watch it. I mean, I hate to hate on baseball too much, but the other day there was a baseball game on, and I used to be such a baseball fan, but now when I watch it, I'm like, how is this even still a thing? And then I thought, oh yeah, well, people are betting on this all over the world, so that's why there's still so much interest, and they can show these games on network TV and all that. But yeah, that would definitely be interesting to see the betting lines on some of the players today.
I think that occurs for all four American big sports, like with football, hockey, baseball, and basketball. They're getting those billion-dollar deals on network TVs because there are betting companies behind that.
True, yeah, and I think it kind of was confirmed with the way they were able to shut out all the fans essentially for an entire season, and still, I'm assuming, have a profitable league, right?
Oh, probably, yeah.
So.
All right, let's go back to Tetris. Let's go to 2016, the year that you got into the finals of CTWC. This was your third time competing in CTWC. First year it was all excitement, and you didn't know what to expect. But what was it going into that third year? What was your expectation for that?
Well, let's see. So I'd gotten 12th and 12th again in 14 and 15, and so. The expectation was just to do better than that. You know, I had felt like the first 2 years, or at least the first year, I was kind of getting my feet wet. And then the second year, I knew what to expect. And I think I kind of felt like I wasn't quite performing up to where I knew I could. And I know every player has kind of gone through that, where just like Sharky was talking about, where, you know, he knows he's an easy max out player, but in competition, it just isn't, you know, it just didn't show itself, right?
Yeah.
So 2016, blessing and a curse. I think I just went into it with more of a mindset of just, I'm good and let's just play, right? And not stress, not worry so much about where I end up. And I think bracket wise, it worked out to be a kind of a favorable bracket for me, and until getting up, and I'm trying to remember the exact sequence of it, but I know I played Yanni.
Yanni top 8, and then Harry in his semis.
And then Harry, yeah. So up until the semis against Harry, and I had an advantage of being relatively unknown, and it's always, I think it's hard, especially for somebody at Harry's level, to play against. It's always harder to play against somebody where you're expected to dominate, Yeah. It kind of throws it might throw your style off a little bit, where you don't play as aggressively as you might usually, or vice versa, right? And so I feel like everything just kind of lined up for me to get as far as I did. I got extremely lucky with the whole run up, and I was just trying to stay in the moment. Is such a cliche phrase, but it was the first time that I think it might have been the first time I was actually up on the main stage. And so being in front of the crowd, and the lights were shining right down on, and then I had Harry, playing against Harry, and then playing against Jonas, and really trying not to be overwhelmed by all of that was the task, So
how did you try to do that?
Just by pretending that it wasn't a big deal. So it was more like trying to convince myself in my mind that I was good enough to be here. So the whole, I think it was kind of a blessing and a curse. Like that tournament, that 2016, put me on the map a little bit, right? Especially with the meme thing that happened afterwards. But
yeah,
it was nice to sort of feel in a way justified that I was a good player, but I think it also it gave me a little bit of a big head about my skills. I was not that good of a player to be where I was. It was a lot of good fortune all the way up there. And I think thankfully the next year I was brought back down to earth pretty quickly. I think I was 12th again in 2017. So that was I think good in a way, because I think I was going into that one like us kind of strutting my stuff a little bit, and then I realized, okay, now I'm back to where I was, and I could kind of enjoy the tournaments again.
But were you expecting when you faced off against Harry in the semis that you were going to lose?
Yeah, I was on a pretty good run, I guess. Like I was in the zone a little bit the way I was playing. So when I got up against Harry, like I knew I was playing well, and so I think at that point I didn't go into it thinking I was going to lose for sure. It was more about let's just play the best games that we can play, right?
Yeah.
And it just ended up working out that in that match. And like I said, I think I had some things working in my favor that I wasn't even aware of at the time. I was just going in, just trying to play. But like I said, Harry had kind of a disadvantage of, and he may disagree with this. I don't know. I'm kind of projecting myself into what Harry's mindset might have been, but I feel like for him that was a very much expected, an expected domination round.
Yeah.
And that can either be he's got the experience to kind of overcome that, but I was hot, and I think I was kind of giving him more trouble than he might have expected, and it worked out then. And like I said, if it was any other time, he would have dominated me, and he has dominated me, I think, in subsequent matches. But that time I got him, so I can always look back on that. That's definitely the biggest win that I've had.
Did the headphones help?
Yes, I think it did back then. I was able to drown out the announcers a little bit, which that's something that the first couple of years I didn't think about. I don't even think the first year I didn't even bring my own controller because I wasn't even thinking that far ahead. So those early years I sort of was able to kind of get some good ideas from fellow players, and having the headphones was definitely a help that year, because for me, hearing the announcers and that kind of gets my adrenaline pumping a little more than is helpful during the round. So having that drowned out was good for me.
Yeah,
right? I think Jonas has said he actually liked playing, hearing the announcers while he was playing, because it gave him a sense of where he was at.
Yeah.
But for me, it was better to just go into my own game and not worry, kind of tune all that stuff out.
Was it only to cancel out noise, or did you actually play music on it?
Oh yeah, no, there was for sure music going. Because the announcers were really loud, in that little area.
Yeah.
So it wasn't just like noise canceling, silence or whatever. I had tunes going, and I had to turn it up pretty good to get it at a level where in the back of my mind I could in the back of my consciousness I could hear whether somebody had topped out or not or whatever. But I was able to drown out the actual content of most of the chatter. So it was definitely music going.
Or you did get the tap on the back by the judge that
yes, right, like you can quit. Right. Yeah.
When you lost to Jonas in the finals, were you disappointed a little bit that you came close but it wasn't enough?
I definitely was not disappointed to lose, because it might have been, I think that's where it started to kind of dawn on me that, wow, this is it, right? Like it was starting to get overwhelming at that point. But he had an early top out in game 1, and then I did the same thing. I had that kind of right to transition top out in the next 2 games. So I don't think it wasn't so much that I lost, but I did feel that I wish I had been able to give it a little more of a challenge, I guess, right? But I liked the way actually the match ended in game 4. It went to, kind of the limit there, right?
Yeah.
So I feel like I was able to redeem those middle two games by at least having an exciting finish, right? And sort of being there and having a chance to push it to that fifth game. So all in all, yeah, there wasn't any disappointment in losing. I felt like I gave it a pretty good competitive effort. And that's to me, that's really what feels good. It's not necessarily whether you win or lose, but it's if you lose, it's how did you lose? You know, did you completely blow it, or were you at least able to, you know, give the guy a good run for the money? And
exactly.
yeah, that's what I felt like. It was a good effort, and definitely, you know, not disappointed in how it all ended up, right?
And looking back to it, and like you said, you were alone at that tournament. Kim was at home. Did it in the end help that Kim wasn't there because you were in your own world with your own focus at all times?
Yeah, that's hard to say. I was definitely able to keep my focus better than I had at previous tournaments, but I don't think that has anything to do with. I think that had more to do with experience than, you know, whether Kim was there or not. Because when Kim is there, it's, you know, it's always nice to have that support and all of that. But not having to worry about whether you know, our child is being looked after, or if they're causing trouble, or, you know, disrupting any other players. It was. I think it was good to kind of not have that in the back of my mind. But you know, it's always good to have life there if it's available. I think that year I was just able to I guess bring that experience of the prior years into that one, and then along with everything else, you know, just have a good run. So I'm definitely not going to lay any lay any blame on any previous year's failures on having Kim or Evan there.
And did you feel any pressure after the CTWC 2016 finals that you put on yourself, that you wanted to achieve this or maybe become world champion?
Oh yeah, for sure. Like after that one, for the next year, probably, I thought, well, I have a chance now, right? I really have a chance. But dashes, like the hopes were dashed immediately, and I think that was good. Like it was a fun thing to have gotten that far, but I also think it put unrealistic expectations on myself as far as, you know, what kind of player am I, and, you know, really was pretty new to competition relative to a lot of the other players there. That I didn't recognize it as a very lucky run until a little bit later, you know.
And when was that?
Yeah, 2017. I think Buko put me out in 2017, and you know, it brought me to reality pretty good. But it also, you know, kind of forced me to kind of reevaluate and make me decide whether if I wanted to, you know, kind of pursue it and see how good I could get. And I had I think I did fairly well in 2018. I think I went up against Favar for my losing match, and felt like I did pretty well there. And I think there was a progression of my scores as I was, you know, even past 2016, 17 and 18. I think if I were to go back and look at the losing scores, I would still see a progression that I was, you know, getting better as a player.
Yeah.
I definitely had like unrealistic expectations going into 2017. And got that realigned, which is nice now, right, to look back on it and go, yeah, that was a pretty, you know, kind of a silly thing.
Would it have been helpful if the online scene was around in 2016 to know that you needed to come back down to earth? Because now you lived in, I don't want to call it a fantasy, but in a dream for a year.
The next year was when the Tappers came, I believe, right? Was that
maybe started? I don't know, but it wasn't. 2017 was the last year that the Dash player won, and then 2018 was the year that Joseph won.
Yes, I think you're right. Yeah, it might have been helpful if that online community was there, because I would have been more in tune with what everyone else was doing, I think, and what kind of scores were going up and all that. But like you said, it was still a DAS player that won in 2017, you know. So it's just a matter of like those guys, you know, Quaid and Jonas and Harry and Buko and really the top tier guys were a kind of a cut above, right?
Yeah.
It was kind of me wanting to be up at that level, and then thinking I was at that level, and then getting shown that you're not really quite at that level, right? But there's always that chance, right? And there's that still the kind of that mindset of going into this year's tournament as well, is that there's always a chance to go on that hot streak, right? And that's mostly what I took away from 2016, was that everybody has those runs, where you just kind of get into the zone, and you're playing at your top level for an extended time, and it doesn't happen very often. But man, if you can do it if you can get into that zone at a tournament, like there's no saying that you can't really surprise a lot of people.
Yeah. But did it bother you that you didn't have a max out in 2016? You didn't have a max out between 2016 and 2017. Your first max out was in 2018, but you've been on a rush that you were finalists in 2016, and maybe you thought, this is the year that I finally can score a max out, and it just didn't happen.
Oh yeah, no. Oh, you mean in competition, or?
Yeah, no, not only competition, but only just your first max out was in 2018.
No, I don't know where that started. I can't remember where that started, but that's not quite right, because I had maxed out prior to 2014, to ever going into the Portland tournament. I had maxed out, and that's sort of what got me into looking around for tournaments and finding Ecstasy of Order. So I've heard that before, and I didn't really, I didn't know how to correct it or care to correct it, I guess. But
it's on the max out list. That's why I brought it up, because it says on the max out list that you maxed out on October 1st, 2018.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, I don't know where I don't know where that came from. But yeah, I had maxed out well before then. So no, I was never. So I guess kind of resetting the story here a little bit. If anybody thought that I was chasing max outs during that time, I wasn't really. It was probably more of trying to refine the competition game versus the the PB game, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, that's interesting, because I can vaguely remember that Game Scout said in the video that you hadn't scored a max out when you played in 2016 in the finals. But I think you never claimed a max out before 2014 or whatever.
Yeah, could be. I wasn't really in any place to claim a max out, I guess. You know what I mean? Like, they weren't really asking that at the tournaments during that time, or recording it anyway, as far as I know. There wasn't the online portion then. So maybe I had commented that I didn't have a competition max out or something. I don't know. I don't know really where that came from, but I remember hearing that at some point and making a sort of a weak refutation of it. But I didn't care to get into, because I can't remember when the first max out was. It was long enough ago that I remember taking a picture of the TV.
Yeah.
And have like a little thumbs up or something like that in the picture. It might have been 2012 or 2013.
Do you think you still have that picture?
Maybe. I don't.
I find it interesting.
Know. Yeah. Maybe. Actually, you know what? I think the picture I'm trying to remember was my first 19 max out. I might be getting my stories wrong. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I think the first 18 max out, I just did it and thought I would retire. I can't remember. I think it was maybe my first 19 max out.
Oh my god, it makes so much sense now.
Right?
Because you said, okay, so when you talked about possibly retiring and then unretiring and what else, you said, yeah, I had a max out and then I could retire and then didn't retire. But I thought, I heard it, but I was like, okay, yeah, whatever. But now it's like, oh god, all puzzle pieces are falling together.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, I'm having to reset the whole timeline for you a little bit. Yeah, that happened. So that happened before I had ever really conceived of playing in tournaments. So it was just like I didn't understand at that point I think I probably just fairly recently learned that you could hold down A and start on level 18
Yeah,
versus, you know what I mean?
yeah.
So yeah, I didn't understand how far you could go with the game, you know? So I thought that a max out was just, that was it, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, that was kind of early days, before any of the real competition. So good. Glad we can like officially get this on the record now.
Yeah. So for the record, your first max out was in 2014.
We could say, yeah, we could probably say 20. I want to say probably 2013 at least, because um, it was before having decided to look into going into the 2014 CTWC. Like, I don't think I would have tried to go and play against those guys without the max out at that point.
Okay. Wow.
Right?
Yeah. Okay. Honestly,
Yeah.
I didn't expect this.
Surprise. Yeah.
I mean, I think it fits your personality. It fits your character. To say, I mean, you are, I think, the biggest meme in Tetris. Not in a disrespectful way, but you are just the Boom Tetris for Jeff meme is the biggest meme in NES Tetris. It all went viral in 2018 when a YouTube video with the CTWC 2016 finals got viral.
Yes.
And I think for a lot of players, it was their first touch of what is classic Tetris. It was for me, at least. When did you find out that the video got viral, that the meme was picking up, and all that?
That is, I can't remember who contacted me. If it was, I think it was one of Vince or Trey. I feel like was probably like, "Hey, have you seen this?" Right, and then the video was racking up all these numbers, and I thought, "Oh, that's funny," right? And didn't think too much beyond that. And then Vince. No, I'm sorry, not Vince. Trey contacted me again and said, "Hey, I made this design. Do you mind if we put this on a shirt?" Right?
Yeah.
And I was like, "Are you serious? Like, if you feel like there is any value in doing that, like, by all means." But I was like, "This, you know, that's kind of crazy." But he made a really nice looking shirt. I really like the design of that shirt.
It's lovely.
And then I asked him if I could have one shirt for me and one shirt for Kim and a onesie for Evan. So
Yeah.
they even have little onesies on that site. And
cute.
he said for sure. And so, yeah, at that, it was early on that it was gaining this traction, but I didn't realize until I think the next year at the CTWC where people were recognizing me seemingly out of nowhere for me, like asking a few people asking for autographs, which I thought was insane. And yeah, and then it just sort of spiraled from there.
Oh, wow.
Did I get the years? I might have got the years wrong. So maybe it was 2018.
I think 2018 was the year that your video, your final got viral, and that sparked interest in players. And I think that might be I think that's the reason why Joseph started playing.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So
when picking up, yeah,
I think it was maybe getting viral before then, right? A little bit, and yeah, and then Joseph came and just blew it all up out of the water, like multiplied by 10, right?
Yeah.
So,
don't you find it weird when people say "Boom Tetris for Jeff"? Everyone knows what they are talking about.
Yeah, that is funny. Like, all credit to Chris Tang there. I guess the little meme videos that went along with that helped. But yeah, I guess I don't know. It just rolls off the tongue a little bit or something. I don't know.
It's sketchy.
Yeah, it's catchy. Yeah, I don't know exactly why it caught on so much, but I'm all for it. It makes for a funny thing. Like, I don't advertise that much, but at work when I take time off for the tournament and somebody would, they would ask me, what I had planned, and I would tell them about this thing a little bit. Eventually it sort of came out. And so it's always funny, when I meet someone meet someone new, and then after you know 6 months or so, it kind of comes out. They're like, they find out about it, and it's always like, what in the world? Like, this is insane. Like, you have your face is on a t-shirt. I like keeping a low profile about it, because it's always funny when someone finds out that if they wanted to plunk down $25, they could wear my face around with them.
Do you also keep it that you play classic Tetris on a low profile?
Yeah, I mean, at work, it's, we for the most part, keep things pretty professional, right? But
yeah,
most people most people know that I play. At least the ones that I've worked with for going on, I guess, 7 years now. So I don't go and talk about it, because it's not something that anybody else does, right?
Yeah.
But they'll comment on it and ask if I'm going to play again this year. And every once in a while it just sort of comes up. But no, I don't. I don't talk about it like I would somebody on the Discord servers.
What's the weirdest way you got confronted by the Boom Tetris for Jeff meme?
It was probably at work, I think. When one person found out, and then it was kind of spreading among my coworkers, and they would go they would go online and find the most random pictures where somebody would have created their own little Boom Tetris for Jeff image or something like that. And that was kind of surreal to have just random coworkers coming up and going, have you seen this one yet, or whatever, right? And it would be my face on the Woody doll from Toy Story, or or some 30-second video that someone had put together that was just completely off the wall. And so that was kind of fun to have that deal where I don't spend a lot of time looking at that stuff, but I would with them, and it would be a weird thing to be kind of sitting down with my coworkers and looking through for a few minutes.
Yeah. Is the meme getting tired for you, or do you still enjoy it?
Oh yeah, for sure. Like, I mean, I don't mind it. I don't think that I am confronted with it enough to be bothered by it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's really just a fun thing, and it's for me, it's just a once in a while thing. It's not like people are recognizing me on the street or or anything like that. It's just it's a really, really funny thing, and I like that it has been immemorialized now by Trey in an NFT. This was great. He actually took his image from the shirt, and created an NFT for it.
Oh, that's great.
And so now, I just have to wait for the demand to pick up, and then I can I can sell one and retire
forever. Yeah. You're one of the few people that participated in CTWC right before the viral video era, who are also active in the online competitive scene. What do you enjoy about the online competitive scene?
What I really like, that there is a place for everybody. You see that, like, CTM, not so much. The CTM is more of the that's the elite players, right? But CTL, for instance, is great, that anybody who wants to join can get up and play competitive Tetris, and there's interesting matches at all levels. There's fun things to watch about all the levels of play. So I think the inclusiveness is what I really like about it. It's just entertaining from all different levels.
And do you use those online matches to prepare for CTWC?
My own personal online matches?
Yeah.
I don't know. My like I said, my if you want to call it preparation strategy, is non-existent.
For this year, certainly.
Yeah, when I'm playing CTL, it was just I think I unfortunately started in Division 1 my very first season.
Yeah.
They kind of vote. I don't know if it was a vote so much as Moodoos just put me there.
We'll never know.
And then I got down to immediately was down to Division 2, and then it took me a few seasons, and I was able to scratch out a win in a playoff and get back up to Division One. So it was always contained within CTL. Like my motivation for playing CTL was always to improve in CTL and play against the top guys. Like that was the motivation. Like get back to Division One if I can, right? Get back to Division One and then just enjoy that. And that's what I really love that about that CTL has given that to me, is that I can look back and say that I have been like thoroughly demolished by all of the top players in the, like, not all of them, but like most of the top players in the entire world have like crushed me in Tetris. And that's something to be proud of in a weird way, right?
But still, you have a 40-42 record in CTL. So you only lost 2 more matches than you won.
Oh yeah, that is surprising to me, because I haven't spent a lot of time in Division One, and so I have a horrid record in Division One. That'd be interesting to see. My Division Two record must be, fairly good. So, it feels like I've played worse just because of those Division One seasons are such a smackdown. But like I said, that's it's a great talking point, and when it does blow up, like it's really something to be able to say I got to play competitively against Dog and Pixel Andy and all the top guys, Hydrant Dude and Huff and so many others, right?
And get those guaranteed matches. It's not like a CTM where you need to be on their side of the bracket and hope that you face them, and not that you get knocked out in an early round or that they get knocked out in an early round. In CTL, you'll face the top guys in Division 1, or you face the top guys in Division 2.
Yeah, that's true. You know what? If it was any other way, I might not have ever played them. You're right. So it was nice to see. Yeah, it's nice that if you can get in there, you're gonna get your shot against these guys, and that's really cool. I don't think there's any other. I don't know that there's any other outlet where that can happen.
Your record at Tetris Friendlies is way more impressive. It's a 35-9 record.
Yeah, okay. I love the Friendlies, mostly because Kingsman is such an entertainer.
Yeah.
He can put together any 2 players and find a way to make it interesting to watch. Friendlies has a special place in my heart because Kingsman was the first person to really reach out for any competitive purposes and say, hey, I want you to come on my show and play this person, or however that started. But he has a way of keeping it casual while still being competitive, and I think it takes the edge off for a lot of players that you're not playing for any kind of a title. You're not playing for he has kind of
titles.
Tournaments, right? But in general, you're not really playing for anything but bragging rights and to get better. There's no elo on the line, or people, and it's a friendly environment. That's the main thing, right? So I guess it's maybe easier for someone who maybe does have a difficult time with like reconciling the competitive Tetris versus the kind of the personal Tetris, right? I call it the PB Tetris, where you're just playing against yourself, right?
Yeah.
It's different play styles, and so you can kind of go into I feel like you can go into the Friendlies with sort of a mix of those, and just sort of see what play style suits you, or experiment a little bit and not have anything at stake, right?
Yeah,
so, for me, that might be part of why my record is so good, is because you're able, you can go into it without really putting any pressure or expectations, and that's different,
And you got nicknamed the King of Friendlies.
yeah. I don't know. You have to ask Kingsman about that one. For him to dub somebody the king of anything is quite an honor. But I'm not sure. I'm not sure how he decided to give me that name.
Maybe because of the fact you had a 14-match win streak on Friendlies early 2020.
Right. Yes. Okay. Yes, I remember that.
Do you know what went through your mind? Were you aware of the fact that you had a 14-game win streak?
Well, I'm pretty sure Kingsman was talking about it every match that came up after about the 6th their seventh one. It still amazes me how well he can keep track of the history of his show there, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, for sure, he would promote that in the little intros, just like a boxing match or whatever, and he gets so, you know, he puts so much excitement into it. Yeah, there is definitely no way to not be aware of the exact relevance of whatever match he's decided to put together, though. And that's a, you know, it's been a really fun thing, because as that winning streak grew, I think there were more and more people just wanted to get in and see if they could be the streak buster, you know?
Yeah.
I don't remember who it was.
Pixel Andy.
But Pixel Andy. Oh, okay. Well, that makes sense. I was definitely, I think, glad that it was over. So
yeah, was the pressure getting too high?
In a way, I think maybe in a way, because he would build me up more than I really felt I deserved. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so that kind of goes back to any kind of competitive match there, where if someone is hyping it like that, then it's easy to start putting pressure on you, where, you know, and it is still the Friendlies, but you know, but there was still that kind of expectation now, as you know, people are watching and he's hyped it up, and you want to sort of perform to expectations a little bit. I still, whenever I'm on his show, and I most recently, he set up a match against Buko and I just, for whatever reason, I cannot beat Buko. He has got my number like no one else does.
Really?
And so he had, you know, promoted the show, and we were matched up together, and I laid an egg. It was the worst performance. You know, I didn't really have much to blame it on, except, you know, it was after a long day of work. I'm sure Buko had worked a long time too. So, I mean, it was after his work day, and he was even East Coast, so he was up 3 hours later than I was. But it was just a terrible performance by myself. And whenever that happens, I always go to Kingsman, like in his direct messages, and apologize, because you know, it's not about losing, but you want to at least, you know, as he's hyped it up, you want to at least put on a little bit of a show. And I went in and just like got swept.
Yeah.
Just easily swept, and you know, and it's not a good feeling. He put a lot of time and effort into that. So I think in a way, I think all the hard work that Kingsman puts into it, if you're on that show, you know, you want to make it entertaining for people, if you can. And so there is that little bit of extra pressure.
I think, but it's also the risk of putting a card together that a match might flop, or that you have early top outs.
For sure, yeah, and you know, yeah, obviously, yeah, I'm not the first person to go on and have a bad night, but you know, sometimes they're just really bad, and so that's where I feel like you know, I got to go in and just be like, hey man, sorry about that, just so he knows that I'm not like. You know, I wasn't, you know, taking it lightly or anything. I just had a really bad night, you know, because he is putting so much hard work into it, and you can tell in the production value. And he had, you know, he gets guest commentators to come in with him. Chris Bidwell was there commentating.
I mean, those special shows that he produces, I think every for a year, are so great to see, and all the time, and the booking that he does. It's every match means something. On a super show, there won't be a match that is not deserving to be on that show.
Right. Yes, I totally agree. He is, I think, the best person at being able to put together a meaningful match, and because he's so good at remembering recent history between players, or if somebody's rising up in the ranks, or whatever it might be. But he just has this kind of sixth sense of saying, okay, here's this guy, and it might even be a little trash talking that happened a couple months ago, you know, and able to remember that and say, okay, well, that would be a really good thing to settle this, you know, settle the score, or how, you know, however he puts it. Just always entertaining.
Odds on best booker in classic Tetris.
Absolutely. Yeah. If I was wanting to put together a show, and I need someone to put together some fun matches, like he's the guy that can do that.
Yeah, I've been off for restreaming last couple of months, and all that. So I haven't been into the restreaming, into CTL and all that. But what I see from the outside is top-notch shows on both Kingsman show, on both the Classic Tetris League channel. Fendi is doing amazing job with splitting up the challenging circuits and the main events, and with a big final at the end. It's getting more real. It's getting more professional. It has a real sport feel. Yeah.
Yeah, and they're also they're finding ways to stretch out the interest level, I guess, right? So it doesn't all just come down to one day or whatever, right? Now it's CTL, the big matches can be over, at the end it could be over a period of 2 weeks or 3 weeks or whatever.
Oh yeah.
Where it's starting to become interesting, and like you said about CTM, that they're able to split those brackets up into several days to keep people coming back, and also I guess there's probably a limit of what people can take in a certain in any one day as far as watching Tetris, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I really like what Van Dweller has done with the taking an individual bracket of 4 players and making that its own show, and then that's that, right? So a lot of refinement going on in how they are being run, and they're just I feel like they're really hitting their stride. A lot of these guys, Vandy and Mudus and Kingsman, right? That they're really finding what works.
They keep reinventing themselves or evolve their tournaments.
Hopefully it's showing in the number of people that are coming in to watch on Twitch, and the number of people that are entering in to participate in these tournaments.
All right, but you also have a little show in the Tetris community. It's a very unfriendly show. It's the Tetris Unfriendlies.
Yes. Yeah.
When did that idea started?
Oh man, that's funny. I wasn't expecting you to bring that one up. That's funny. It started. It probably started at the peak of my Friendlies run with Kingsman, I guess. And I thought, that would be a funny riff off of the Friendlies, is just to do something that was so opposite of it. And it started out. It was so funny, and I would and I hate to really admit this on something my kids might listen to, but I would sit and drink and just get really drunk and match up these match up players to play against each other, and just rip on them. And it was funny, and I think everybody had a good time with it. And it was very much not serious. And I would change the rules of the match as we went on. Whatever I felt like changing the rules of, I would change the rules in the middle of it.
Dilo versus Japorto is coming up.
Dilo versus Japorto. That's kind of like the quintessential Unfriendlies match, I think. There, Martz has also been involved. Martz and Rory, I think, have also been involved in a couple of matches that were just hilarious. And I had to sort of get away from it. Number one, because I'm not really a serious drinker, and I'm physically, I was recovering from a show for like 4 days. So
Don't want to say you're getting old, Jeff, but.
Right, but that's what it is. Yeah,
4 days is long.
We can say it. That's fine. I had a really good time doing it, but yeah, it was a little too much to expect. And when I don't, and this is also embarrassing to admit, but when I'm not drinking, I can't do the Friendlies. The Unfriendlies.
Why not?
It just doesn't work the same way. I become sort of a different person when I've had a few to drink. And I'm able to kind of be quicker with the insults and all that. Plus, the early shows of the Unfriendlies was anybody. It was kind of anybody against anybody, if I remember. Like, I didn't care about skill level, whatever. I would change rules or whatever if I needed to, right?
Yeah.
To make it match. But then it's a lot harder when it more people came in. It sort of became more like a traditional competition. This person wanted to play that person, or that, there were always it started to be kind of preset matches, which were actually very good competitively. And it's hard to have that in an Unfriendlies You know what I mean? Like, it's hard to make fun of that because there was actually very good Tetris going on.
Yeah.
So I found it harder and harder to have the content. And thankfully, Martz was willing to kind of take it over, because I would have to put a long time in between shows for my liver to recover or whatever. And eventually I was just like, I just really don't have time to recover like that anymore. So Martz very graciously agreed to step in and co-host with me on one. And then I don't know if he knew it was going to happen, but I sort of anointed him as the new host and stepped away. So he hosted on his own. He brought in some other co-hosts with him for the last show, and I wasn't able to be there for a lot of it, but I think he was having fun with it. And
Martz is having fun. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Martz doesn't give a crap about it.
Oh, that's great. That's the way it should be. Yeah.
So
yeah, just kind of a funny idea that I'm glad somebody else has decided to sort of take it over, and hopefully it can kind of continue to be a funny thing.
Jeff, I thank you so much for being on the show. It was a very pleasure to have you on.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you very much.
And with that all being said, this will be the end of the Peace Dependency podcast. Thank you all for listening, and make sure you follow the podcast on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Don't forget to join the Tetris Friendlies Discord server and follow me on the socials @SirMazer. For now, have a great Tetris month, and I will see you all in November. Bye! The Peace Dependency podcast was brought to you by Total Red NES. Shop your Goofy Food Controller TWO merch and CTWC approved hardware on TotalRedNES.com.